Hello and welcome to Scrolling with Ceazor. Today is February 25th, 2026. It's Wednesday, the E33 day, so get your voting fingers ready, get those bribes, and so forth. I got a lot of news for you today, a lot of tweets selected. It was pretty easy this morning to find stuff to talk about, but as always, this is no financial advice. This is all my own biased personal opinions based on the news that I have found. So let's take a quick look at the charts. As you can see, ETH pumped. Everything's pumped. ETH pumped like 9%, 10% today, which is quite nice. Does that mean we're going to the moon? I have no idea. I'm not going to adjust any of my positions based on this green candle. Now, of course, I wish I would have, levered up, done some 20x long down here at the bottom, but I did not, and I don't usually do that because I'm chicken shit, right? So anyhow, so there is a little bit of a pump here. Will it be sustainable? We don't know. Let's take a look at gold. Gold did not pump. It's not up 10%. It's kind of crabbing in the middle of my range there. So I guess I'll just keep it as and hope the volume stays up on that. Anyhow, so there's those things to consider. Let's move on to some tweets. So here we have Clouted. He's part of the ETH strategy team, as you can see over here. ETH strategy, pretty cool project. What does he say? Okay, so he's like, I swear to God, you just know that if we go up from here, you're going to somehow miraculously get a timeline filled with, did you buy the dip, longed from the Picto bottom price, bought a bunch of spot at the bottom because I thought it was cheap, closed shorts and flipped to the long. So he's just basically saying that, like, get ready for all of the people who say, I'm smarter than you. I did it. I bought down at the bottom, and great. So I actually did to say, I actually did buy a little bit yesterday. Now, I didn't buy spot. I actually bought it inside one of my TradFi banking long-term investment retirement savings accounts. So I bought some like Fidelity ETH, right? So I'm kind of happy with that. But yeah, that's not really the same thing, I guess. But anyway, so yeah, get ready for that if that happens. I believe Clouded is right. We're going to turn into flip from bears to like ultra bulls who are geniuses. Okay, moving on. Here we have Leon. I don't know who this guy is. I'm going to follow him just because this tweet is interesting, and there's some data here that I find cool. So he's talking about ETH ETF flows. So I bought some, it's not a significant amount, a tiny amount of ETH yesterday as an ETF, like Fidelity. So it's a spot ETF as well. So I contributed to this. Okay, so basically he's just saying that like, the outflows have slowed down significantly. I can probably read his points here. He says, after a period of heavy outflows around mid-2025, selling pressure has been gradually fading, so less and less outflows. Recent flow bars are significantly smaller in both directions, so there's less interest in these ETFs. And it says, why is this relevant? Despite one of the sharpest down draws in recent memory, the institution exodus appears to have exhausted itself. The weekends that wanted out are largely out. Does that mean the bottom is in? No. He says there is a slight outflow bias in recent weeks. This isn't a clear accumulation signal yet, but the intensity of selling is clearly fading. So you can take that as you want. He says it's not financial advice either. It sounds a lot like financial advice, but who knows, right? He's a head of research at Lisk. I don't know what Lisk is, a platform for founders in Africa. So yeah, take that, think about that. He's Ethereum aligned at least. So yeah, I hope he's right, but he's also wrong. But that's because I got bags and I want my bags to pump. Okay, so moving on, we have Rameses. This is an older tweet, but I thought it was significant because today is Wednesday. And I said, get your voting fingers ready, collect those bribes. Well, one of my positions on Ramses is inside this auto vault, and I don't have to do anything, so I can go and play video games during the time I would normally assess my position on Ramses and do some voting. Right now, it's just let them do the voting for me, and I can get my stable coins afterwards. Okay. Now I don't have enough to really make me rich. I wish I had more, but I don't, and that's just the way things are. Okay, moving on. So let's take a look at this Pandora position I have. This is if you don't know what Pandora is, I have a video on it. The video is right here in this tweet or on my channel. Just look for Pandora Decentralized Prediction Markets, and you will find the explanation of this protocol. So I did this market a little while ago. Will Vitalik reply to my tweet about Pandora in 48 hours? The tweet is here. It's this tweet, and as you can see, he has not replied even after several tags. I tagged him. Pandora tagged him. Daddy DeFi Daddy tagged him, and Thomas here tagged him, and no reply yet. Now it's not over, but as you can see, people are not very confident in Vitalik's interest in my pleb tweeting. Okay, so we'll see what happens. I opened this position. I opened this thing with 48 hours. I think how much time? Let's see. Where is the time that's left? I should probably look. Start time. It doesn't say exactly. Oh, time left. We could compare them. It's almost time. Okay. There's not much time left on this market. So yeah, I'm selling dollars for 95 cents right now. I did overexpose myself to this. I didn't. I was, because it was a test phase, right? And I set the initial position at like 75.25. So I probably next time I do a market, I have another idea. I have another couple ideas, but next time I do one, I will make it. I will not participate as a bettor. I will just create the market and let the market participants create the volume. So I won't open this position. So I did sell a few positions because I wanted to give other people a chance to play with this. So I had about like 230 no tokens. I can't remember exactly, and I sold them as people were buying them. So I brought the no price back down a little bit so other people could get in and play this game. Okay, so that is there. You can check this out. It's pretty cool stuff. Moving on from Pandora. Okay, so here we have a thread by Block Analytica. Block Analytica is the main risk management system that Summerfi uses. I'm a delegate at Summerfi. I follow it kind of, but I'm outside of their like community time zone. So like all of their community calls are like while I'm in bed. So it's like I kind of miss that engagement, and it's kind of wearing on my my motivation to participate in that protocol a little bit. And I find this to be pretty interesting as a philosophical question. Like, DeFi is global, 24/7, permissionless, people all over the world interacting with each other. But what I find for myself is, in order to participate with Summerfi, I have to do a lot of reading, because I can't just join conversations and talk about things because they're doing it while I'm asleep. So I find that to be very tiring and very demotivating. So I'm slowly, I wouldn't say I'm stepping back, but I find myself not interested in engaging as much as I was when I first started looking at this protocol. So now, of course, their token has dumped like crazy too, and that might have an effect on it, because I locked tokens and now they're worth dollars instead of hundreds of dollars, right? So that might have an effect as well on my motivation, right? So anyways, so this has nothing to do with Summerfi. This is Block Analytica talking about interest rates in DeFi. So they say here that what's the word they use again? Significant compression of organic yields. So sometimes the way these guys write, it sounds like they're just like, it's all written by AI bot, and they're just like posting it, or who knows. I believe they're real people it's not just a bot, but maybe they're using AI to help them to compose things. But anyways, like they're talking about like these different rates. So funding rate, the rate of like arbitrage of longs versus shorts, the basis trade type thing, is like 2.2%. Supplying stable coins is at like 1.9%. Borrowing costs is around 3%, and then they let's compare that to Sky ecosystem saving rate, which is like pretty much manually set to 4%, based like they're using all the T-bills and stuff like that to generate these yields. You can kind of go through this and think about it. It's clearly a thread written for the promotion of the Sky ecosystem, Sky savings rate. I do hold Sky ecosystem SUSD tokens, and like I've showed you already in the past many times, I put them as my stable coin in a lot of my liquidity positions. So I'm more than happy. So all of the stable coins below this price are earning 4%, which makes me happy. Okay, so keep going, Sky. Keep pumping that steady 4% out into my pocket, and I will be more than happy to share this stuff with the world. Okay, moving on. Here we have a guy. I don't know who this is. I gotta follow him because I kind of like this. He's talking about he's chef at steakhouse. Oh, I didn't know that. Anyhow, so he's talking about this stuff, this Swiss bank outage, the CME outage on the Forex exchange market. So let's read what he says because it's very short, and then I can kind of talk a little bit. He says, unrelated to DeFi, analysis of topology of FX markets which, while seemingly decentralized, have shared infrastructure. They led to the deterioration of price discovery during the CME outage in November. So that was a little while ago. Comparable in DeFi might be execution in DEX when a large exchange goes down. I don't really know what he's saying here exactly, like his comparable to DeFi. I think DeFi, because the ability for anyone to create exchanges, anyone to create a stable coin, and there to be lots of stable coins. I like the ability for DeFi to have Euro stablecoins, USD, and every fiat along the ramp, or the ones that are dominant that are traded in the FX exchange, and it to be always on and decentralized. I feel like CME outages are a thing of the past. Like the only way that you would get this is if there's only one stablecoin, and the minting redeeming gets turned off for some reason, or the that actual exchange gets hacked or paused because of like a potential vulnerability. These are the only ways that this is going to happen, because the bots can interact with the contracts directly. It's not like the front end can go down. If the front end goes down, the pools will still be armed. There will still be like people trading Forex through without using the front end, like whether they use bots, like command line interfaces, or third-party applications that direct through those pools, like DEX aggregators even. Like I feel like DeFi's obviously fixes this problem without any question in my mind. Now there is smart contract risk and that kind of stuff, but like I feel like the CME outages and the impossibility for the price to stay equated to the market demand or the market values is a thing of the past, or very soon it's going to be a thing of the past, especially with AI able to like audit everything and help people to make more robust, safer smart contracts and to look for vulnerabilities even live. And I think it's just going to get easier and easier and faster and run away from us. So anyway, so you could check this out. You can check out his tweet. Give him a follow as well. I think I will as well. Moving on. Here we have Katana. Katana is I don't want to explain to you everything here, but there's an opportunity here for some pretty juicy yield. Basically, in the theme or in the memory of old DeFi days, back in 2021 and stuff like that. I remember in those days I used to go to Venus on BNB chain. I used to use several coins to borrow, and I would be paid more than I would owe. Like my interest rate to borrow would be less than the rewards for borrowing. And here we have this case again on Katana. So if you go to Morpho on Katana, you can borrow USDC versus ETH or WBTC as collateral, and you get paid. You get paid in ETH, you get paid in Morpho, you get paid in USDC, and you get paid in Katana tokens. Now these Katana tokens are not tradable quite yet, so you can't dump them and so forth. And I don't know which one's the highest. But if we look through the pictures, as you can see, the native rate is 3.9%, but you're getting, more. You're getting over 6% back after you. So 9% minus 3%, you're getting like 6%. You're getting paid like 6% to borrow on that one. And on the other one, the BTC is at 6% as well. So yeah, so there's that. I don't know how much liquidity there. So this total market 7 million, and here the total market is 25 million. So a lot of money there to be borrowed in this case. But it does say total liquidity is only 1.8 million. So there's a shit ton of WBTC sitting in there, but only there's only free 1.8 million. So a lot of people are already borrowing, I guess. And there's probably some serious looping going on in there. So yeah, be careful. Check that. But there is this opportunity there. I thought I would share it with you. Yeah, moving on. Here we have Alexander from Velodrome, Aerodrome. He's kind of tooting the horn. He toots a lot, but it's important. Okay, so he's like, Hyperliquid is great, but it's got emissions too. Currently 3.x to 4x annual revenues. So they're emitting tokens more than they're generating revenue. Okay, and he says Aerodrome typically runs at about 1.2 to 1.5x, so a little bit more. And where is Hyperliquid? And it's not clear. Like his point here is not that Hyperliquid. His point is that a lot of projects, almost all projects, are emitting tokens. They're just not emitting them as what they're calling inflation or emissions. Just because they don't name them emissions doesn't mean they're not emitting tokens. And as you can see in this image, there's a shit ton of core contributors who have vesting schedules that are ready to expire and that expired already and unlocked. And these are all core contributors. They're bags that they got, and they're all worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And they can get these tokens and sell them as emissions. So it's a different sort of emissions. And a lot of projects do this. They don't declare them as emissions because they're not like what you consider, tokens going to LPs in gauges for claiming and selling and on compounding or locking and stuff. These are just tokens that are, vesting to these core contributors who in all likelihood are probably going to sell them or do something with them. Like the Hyperliquid doesn't have a way to stake Hyperliquid tokens and get US dollars as a result. So all of these people who are these core contributors, they want to buy a house, they want to buy cars, they want to, I don't know what they want to do, like anything. They need stuff, they need real money, they want to buy things. So the only way for them to get the money, to get cash, is to sell these tokens, or they could, collateralize them and borrow tokens, but probably they won't do that. They will solidify these gains. And then also when these cliffs open up, they got $260 million that they just earned. Now they have to pay taxes on $260 million, which is roughly half, so say $100 million. So they got to sell $100 million just to pay the taxes, right? Or they could borrow and pay the taxes with the borrowed cash, right? They could do that, right? But now they're paying interest on on their taxes, which is insane, right? So yeah, so think of that. Consider that I hold hyper liquid tokens. I sold a lot of my airdrop, but I still hold some. I'm LPing them on Ramses, and I hope they don't dump all over me. I hope the token goes up. Revenue, the only thing that revenue is doing right now, as far as I can remember, is revenue is being used to buy back the token and increase the value of that token. But that doesn't give these people stable coins. Whereas on Velodrome or Aerodrome or Ramses or any of these like VE33 that have these set emissions that are called emissions, they also have utility where you can deposit those tokens somewhere, so you don't need to sell them, and they would generate you some revenue in the form of bribes and or fees. Okay, so think of that when you're trying to do stuff, like when you're considering what to do with Hyperliquid and stuff like that. But anyways, I thought this was an interesting thing to talk about and to highlight that emissions are emissions, even if you don't call them emissions. Okay, moving on. Here we have Gabriel dunking on Gabriel Sapiro, Lexno, dumping on SBF. So SBF was like shilling. I don't know why he's still like shilling stuff. He must be bored, right? He must be sitting in jail all the time. He just gotta talk, you know. He just gotta stop from going insane, right? So he's like, the Clarity Act will be a huge milestone. This was 3 hours ago, by the way. The Clarity Act will be a huge milestone for crypto and a huge achievement for the Donald Trump. And then Gabriel replies and says, your bill was trash. And Eric Voorhees schooled you in every single aspect of it without even being a lawyer. As you know, we were supposed to debate it as well, which would have gone even worse for you. But FTX collapsed the day before that. So I guess Gabriel was supposed to go on a podcast with SBF and school him. I'm going to watch this Eric Vuo's video. And then I did reply to Gabriel. I said, hey, you know, do you have bullets? Not to shoot the clown hair, but for me to read why it's trash. Educate Ceazor, please. He replied, yeah, they're somewhere in his history. So I got to dig myself if I want to see what he said and why they're trash. But anyhow, I'm going to watch that video and see what Eric has to say about it. Okay, moving on. Here we have Alchemix. Alchemix was supposed to launch V3, right, a little while ago. I talked about it on my show, but then they kind of paused it because like they had a little PTSD or something, a little scare, right? And they're like, yeah, let's just, you know, let's be extra careful. So they put it back into audit once again. And why the Yearn Audit DAO system-wide audit kicked off last Monday. All additional tests have been written. Watch the space for further news. So I would like to know a little bit more about this why audit DAO. Like it's Yearn's like DAO auditing academy. Formally, I don't know if it's a public thing and everyone can kind of like a contest, or if it's more like just a traditional kind of audit system. I don't know. But anyhow, I thought I would share that with you, that the audits are moving forward, because I have talked about Alchemix. I am an Alchemix user, so this is significant to me as well. Yeah, so audits underway. Kicked off last Monday, so 2 days, right? So you can check it out, I guess, and know what's going on. So here we have Bojan. Bojan from Liquidity. He's shilling Liquidity again, and yeah, go for him. I think people should be using Liquidity. It's pretty fantastic. Let's see what he says about it and why I agree with him and why I think everybody should consider this. Okay, so number one, you get 7 to 8% APR on a stable coin. So, you know, Block Antica was talking about 4% traditionally on Sky ecosystem, but this one's like 7 to 8%, right? And it's only backed by ETH. There's no centralized stablecoin backings like Sky is backed by USDC. There's none of that. It's just permissionless ETH immutable contracts on Ethereum. Okay. But let's see what he says. Here are some other significant things that make it stand out. Number one, there's no black boxes. So everything's transparently put, immutably, verified code, all on the blockchain. There's nothing about it that's like, oh, we're going to take this outside here and go play with the money over here. And every once in a while, we'll bring back some yield. There's none of that going on here, okay? No team multi-sigs, so yeah, they can't change parameters, they can't add, remove collateral, none of this stuff, okay? They got no powers at all, okay? The locking of capital, so what does that mean? What you do not get, locking of capital, so the capital doesn't get locked up. That doesn't make sense to me. I'll have to ask Bojam what he means by this. Inflationary rewards. There's no inflationary reward. There's no emissions on this protocol. There is a governance token, but it's already fully emitted. If you want it, you can buy it and you can use it to vote on where some of the fees, let's not call it fees, some of the interest rate revenue can be directed if you have the governance token and you vote and you deposit it somewhere, you can vote it. It's mostly the case for protocols who want to add some extra bold emissions to their, not emissions, extra bold revenue to their LPs as rewards. So if you wanted to create an LP, bold your token, for example, you could get some LQTY tokens, you could stake them, and then you could vote to send some of the bold, I think it's 30%, I always forget, it might be 25 or 30%. You could vote to send some of the interest rate that's being paid to your liquidity pool, okay? Moving on. No dependent on UST, that's US dollar treasuries. So yeah, there's no like off-chain traditional finance like yield sources, right? And there's no possibility for them to freeze or blacklist your wallet. So your tokens are safe. You are in control of your tokens. Nobody can stop you from holding your tokens. So yeah, check it out. Go get some. Okay, here we have an article by FX Protocol. It's not too long. It's pretty short. It's about AI bot tokens and protocol FX USD tokens. So you can read through this, but basically it's just saying that these several tokens, so we have Banker, Clanker, Virtual, and VVV, all of these tokens now can be used as collateral in a morpho market versus FX protocol. So if you go here and you click through this, I'll open it up to show you. There is a market here called Agenic Stablecoin. So you can use any of these AI bot tokens, and you can use them as collateral to borrow FX. Now the API is pretty high, like 15% you have to pay. But there is $250,000 worth of liquidity here to borrow. I don't know who has this risk appetite, but someone does. So there is this market. You can, if you are a holder of these tokens, instead of selling, you can borrow some stablecoins versus them. This is pretty high, the borrow rate for me, but you do you, and you decide whether or not this is something you want to do. But I thought it worthy to share because FX USD is doing a lot of they're trying to find their niche in the marketplace. They have different niches, but they're trying to expand and support the AI ecosystem and the AI economy. And this is one way to do that, okay? Moving on, here we have Benjamin from CAP. He's retweeting a CAP article. Let me read what it says, and then you can kind of understand. And then, of course, get in here, read the article, the full study, and get more understanding if it's something you're interested in. So CAP's success will be measured by our ability to connect the traditional capital markets. So on the supply side, so supplying dollars to be borrowed, okay? That means plugging into large pools of capital like pension funds. Today, we achieve that with this WT, which is Wisdom Tree, integration. Wisdom Tree users, which include pension funds, can now stake their assets into CAP. Now, I'm not sure exactly how this is working, whether it's them lending stablecoins or Wisdom Tree backing the borrowing of stablecoins. If you don't know how CAP works, I got a video. You can go watch the video and you can get an understanding how it works. But in simple forms, there are three users in this system. There is people who are lending stablecoins. There is institutions that are backing the borrowing of the stablecoins, so putting up collateral. And then there are, degens or, people who have a system to create yield on stablecoins. So they will borrow the stablecoins out and they will take them out and generate yield and then bring back the yield as a payment for borrowing. That yield goes to the people who lent the stablecoins, but also goes to the entities that collateralize the borrowing. So if I have a very cool idea of how to generate yield, I can talk to different collateral backers. Maybe we call them curators. I can't remember what they're calling them here, but like they are the backers, the people who I talk to them. I explain how my system works. They say that's good, and then they back they put some collateral in the system, and they allow me to borrow those stable coins and put them to work. So I'm not sure where Wisdom Tree falls into this. They're probably the backers but they could also be stablecoin lenders, and they could be both, right? They could be lenders as well as backers, so they could put their own stablecoins in there, and then they could put their own backing collateral in there, and then they could lend those stablecoins to someone, allow someone to borrow those stablecoins and put them to work, or they could even do all three, right? It's a pretty cool system. Okay, so check it out. Okay, so this has been news for a few days since Zach dropped it, and he said, in a couple of days, I think it's tomorrow, he's going to announce this huge, profitable protocol that has been, insider trading on people, like pretty much crime, right? And people have been speculating all over. There's polymarket markets, there's all kinds of markets that's talking about, who is he going to expose, right? So Star Platinum has a few ideas. So he generally collects information, and he's kind of like, there's been some shady stuff happening. So suspicious activity exploded after his announcement. So World Liberty Fund has done some crazy stuff. Eric Trump removing tweets. Meteor immediately treated as the top suspect, one of Solana's most profitable DEXs. Right after the announcement, this doesn't really show them doing anything that's like guilty. Axiom, MEC-C, Polymarket itself. Who knows? Who knows what he's going to do? I found it ironic the other day. I saw someone post that there's a Polymarket multi-choice market. Maybe I can find. I don't want to look for it because it's going to waste time. There's a Polymarket multi-choice where you can choose which of the protocols you think he's going to expose for insider trading, and it's so funny because that market is generating volume, it has a decent amount of TVL. Now Zach can very easily insider trade that market. He doesn't have to do it with his doxed wallet. He can have a clean wallet and go in, because he knows who he's going to expose. So he can just go and buy up a little bit of yes tokens on that specific entity, right? I find it very funny how this world has become like this kind of thing. It just reminds me of something I saw the other day, and I'm going to actually find this because I found it to be quite interesting. So I'm going to open this, and I'm going to go to the people who I follow. Maybe I won't be able to find this so easy. let's quickly, sorry, here we go. Okay, so here's Andre Cronje. You love him or you hate him, but let's see what he says here. He says, didn't want to mention this or interact with this at all until after it was done. So he's talking about the FTTGE. There was a Flying Tulip TGE polymarket thing versus like what is the FDV of polymarket going to be. And he's like, it's, what does he say here? This is I just have to read it because the way he writes, I can't really find it so easy. So they have no reason to. So let me just read it all, okay? But this didn't want to mention this before or interact with it until it was done, so until they launched the token. But this kind of betting definitely adds a weird angle to launching a project. We had so many people in our Discord asking about FTV that the team realized something weird was going on and that they found the betting market. However, given FT's design, FTV is largely irrelevant. Put investors can refund their money at 10 cents, so they have no reason to sell below. And if they do, the capital becomes the floor for 10 cents. Technically not 10 cents, it's a NAV or withdrawal of the put FT tokens. It's the liquidity constraint, so things can fluctuate, but this is generally interesting to watch and very welcome stress test to the model. So yeah, so people were gambling on the FTV value instead of just buying and participating in the sale. Now, some people couldn't participate in the sale because they didn't, pass the test or whatever, or they were late or whatever, right? Whatever reason, but they decided they wanted to gamble on it, and so you can check it out and think about this. Like, Polymarket is changing the way things happen because people can now bet on information more easily. And Andre Cronje could definitely have participated. I'm not saying he did, but he definitely could participate in this because he knows what the FDV is going to be, or roughly, right? It's a little bit different with this one because the FDV is dependent on investments, right? So if he couldn't predict, because the FDV is a product of how much money comes into the system, and he cannot predict how much money will come into the system because he can't predict who's going to invest and how much they're going to invest, right? But it could definitely be a market for another token, especially tokens historically that the team just decides the FTV. They can mint as many tokens as they want. They know how much US dollars they've raised, and they can just decide what the FTV is. So that creates an insider trading opportunity that is very, very, very easy to do. Okay. Moving on. Here we have an article. I couldn't help but read this, but it's too much for me. It's called The Forbidden Sandwich, a theory of MEV-resistant CFMM transactions by Mark Richardson. So, yeah, you can read through this. As you can see, I'll scroll through. It's just loaded with like math that's beyond my ability to understand. But I read through some of it, and I asked Grokky to help me understand what his point was. And there is some cool takeaways here. So he's talking about sandwich attacks and how like he talks a little bit about the history and how we can mitigate them or protect people from sandwich attacks. But he does bring up a cool idea, okay? And that is, like, there are 3 ways to stop a sandwich attack. So one is you can make the trade small relative to the pool. So if my trade is tiny, you're not going to front run and back run it because it requires too much capital to push the price up and then bring it back down in order to sandwich me. The opposite could be true. So you could make the pool deeper relative to my trade. Instead of making the trade small, you can make the pool deep, right? Somehow, right? And then the idea inside this article is to create a swap fee, adjustable swap fee that is sufficiently large. So if the swap fee is large enough, then people aren't going to flash loan jack the price up and then reduce the price down. So it's a cool idea. This is not live on his product. His product has sandwich resistance already because you decide the price you're going to get for your tokens instead of you swapping. Like it's when you use Carbon, you don't swap. You put for sale. I want to sell this for this much dollars or this much USDC. And when someone wants to take it, they will take it and they will give me the price I want. So that's this system that is there that they use in order to avoid sandwiches. There's no sandwich attacking there. How it's sandwich resistant. I say I want this price, you put that price. So there's no way to kind of sandwich it. Whereas with the traditional AMAs, there's slippage and price impact parameters. And that's the other way to protect people from sandwich attacks. But people like, sometimes there's volatility, so you need to set your slippage high enough and then when volatility disappears and your token is your swap is in the mempool, then people can sandwich you because you still accept volatility even though there is no volatility, so the sandwich attack can take. So this is an interesting article. It's heavy research, heavy stuff. Okay, so read it if you want. Check it out. I thought it was. I couldn't. Anytime someone talks about sandwiches, obviously I have to jump in there and take a look at it, right? So you can too. Okay, so I did already talked about this one. I don't know why I've got it here twice. Now, Jasper the Friendly Ghost.eth. He's a Rocket Pool contributor. I don't know where he does at Rocket Pool community advocate. Okay, so he's talking about RETH. So I'm going to read what he says and then my reply, which hasn't got an answer yet. So I'm looking forward to this answer. So it says a 50,000 RETH deposit would instantly DQ roughly 1,500 Rocket Pool validators across the world into the hands of home stakers. There is no better way to increase censorship resistance of Ethereum with your ETH than to mint RETH, the people's LST. I love RETH. I do. I don't completely understand what he's saying here, so I asked. I said, does that mean there are 15,000 or 1,500 people or entities waiting for some ETH from Rocket Pool to start their own validators? Or if this much RETH was minted, then 1,500 could spin up. And then I said, will you help me to do one? I kind of really want to run a validator at home just because I believe in it. I don't, maybe I can figure out how to use it better. I should probably just bite the bullet and do it. But currently right now I still rent, so I use that as an excuse to put it off. I'm currently shopping for a house, so I might buy a house. And if I own a house, then I'm more likely to do this because then I'm not going to have downtimes. I'm not going to worry as much. I'm going to be able to make sure it's more stable and it's not going anywhere. And then I will consider that then. But anyways, I thought I'd share this. We'll see what he says if he ever says anything to me. He's usually pretty good at replying to me, so I think he will. Last one. As always, I like to talk about general things for the last tweet of the day. And here I did a tweet. Yesterday I watched this interview between Diary of a CEO Stephen Bartlett. Now I tagged the wrong person here, unfortunately, but anyhow, whatever. And Roman Yalomsky. I'm sorry. Roman's pretty bleak, and he worries about our future because we are pushing AI too quickly. And this is a pretty good video to watch to see the bleak, scary future that could be if we don't slow down and be more careful. He talks a lot. It's a very good video. It's pretty long, but there are a few things inside there that kind of made me think. And I talked to my kids about this interview today on the way to work, or on when I dropped them on the way to school, sorry. And I talked a few things about there, and a few things kind of stood out to me. You know, like 99% unemployment is inevitable. Like AI is going to take everyone's job. However, what does that mean? It means that, like, you know, we're going to be pets. The way I look at it, like, he didn't say the words pets. This is the way I'm looking at it. So we're going to be pets and what can you do? Well, basically, you just keep living your life. You try your best to live a happy life. Do things that make you happy. Don't worry too much about, like, everything. And, you know, some of the things I said after watching this, I'll read through them. It says the old WEF, you will own nothing and be happy, might be true, but not because old croonies take over. The AI will just control everything. I worry about my kids and the advice I'm responsible for giving them. I do think about this a lot. Like, I don't know what to tell my kids. Like, do they need to go to university? Do they? I tell my son and my daughter that they don't need to, but they can. It all depends on what they want. What do they want to do? What makes them happy? And if AI does, like, grow to, like, it's pretty inevitable. Like, you can see it right now. Like, it's exponentially just growing and expanding, and it's almost unstoppable. Like, like the idea that, like, AI will create such efficiency. If you think of it this way, okay, so if everyone loses all their jobs, so 99% of jobs are gone. Now AI and robots are doing them, which is incredibly cheap, right? So the cost of everything goes down incredibly, and humans can just be sustained. Like, a dog doesn't have to worry about his food. He just, the food just ends up in the bowl every day. So will the AIs, it's a question of, will the AIs, if we do create super intelligence and this god-like entity takes over, will he consider our happiness important? Will he keep us alive? But more importantly, also, will he like, you know, think, you know, the bare minimum, more than the bare minimum is necessary for humans to be happy? And will he care? Will he want humans to be happy? It's an interesting idea. Okay, my daughter said, so, like, everybody will be rich in the car, and I said, I don't think so. Like, these are my opinions. Okay, so I don't think everyone will be rich, because being rich is wasteful. It's a waste of value in a single entity. But being more than the bare minimum will create much more better lifestyles for people. I just hope that the God, like if we do create a singularity, that God-like being will be like, will want us to be happy. Like, it will be logical for us to be happy, because, you know, who knows? Like, we love our dogs, but will the AI love us? I don't think so. I don't think it's capable of love. I think it's only capable of pure logic. And are we important enough to sustain us? It's a scary thing, right? What else did he say? What else did I say? But at the same time, so there's this thing here. It says, I think a lot about the future of AI, and I'm quite scared, but at the same time, I also think that all this current hustle is for naught. So do you really need to worry about getting everything, getting rich, getting all of it, especially if AI takes over and they just, like fiat? They're not going to use US dollars. Of course not. They're going to make their own economy, and they're just going to run everything on that economy. Even if they might not even need monetary value. It might just be like, here's your tickets, go get your food, go get your entertainment, here's your entertainment. Who knows? Like, we could definitely, it could just be like a video game where we all become NPCs, and it just, it just sustains us. It's very scary, but at the same time, you can't really dwell in a doomsday thing. You got to think. You got to try your best. In this video, he asks him, you've got children, right, Roman? What do you tell them? And he's like, just live your life in the present. Make sure every day is a happy day for you, and do what makes you happy, and try to do as little of what you don't like. Like, if you don't like doing that stuff, try to reduce it. And if you like doing this stuff, try to do it more. And that's kind of the best advice I can think of in this kind of doomsday scenario. There's a very good video. It's a very good interview, and I would highly suggest you read it or watch it. Sorry. And I'm going to watch a bit more and dig a little bit deeper. But anyways, I think that's that. Thank you for listening. I hope this has been entertaining, and goodbye.